Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Healthy Futures training. My name is Marcia Soria from the Stanford Reach Lab, and I'll be doing the training for you all this morning. We're going to wait a couple of minutes for other people that have signed up, and so we'll give them a chance to hop on. In the meantime, if you would kindly do the pre-training survey, that would be great. And when you're done with the pre-training survey, if you could just let me know, and we'll get started. If you're just joining us, this is the Healthy Futures training. If you would please complete the pre-training survey and let me know when you're all done, and we'll proceed. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to get started. So if you would please put in your name, pronouns, and your role as far as what you do, where you work, just so we could get to know each other. Great, thank you so much. Well, nice to meet you all. Great, I'm just reading all your notes. So my name is Marcia Soria, and I'm the primary Healthy Futures curriculum trainer. And if you want to reach out to me, you could use that email address, and I could send it to you all at the end. And these are our different sponsors, and we always like to thank them for allowing to make these trainings free and supporting our research and community goals. So what we're going to do today is discuss interventions versus traditional discipline models. We're going to do a deep dive into the Healthy Futures interventions and the data dashboard, and then we'll do a live walkthrough, which I encourage you all to follow as well when we get to that part. And then if you have any questions, of course. So as I mentioned, I am from the REACH Lab, and it stands for Research and Education to Empower Adolescents and Young Adults to Choose Health. And we do that in three ways. We do that with conducting research, we develop curriculum, we also are involved in advocacy, and we also train future adolescent providers. This is the REACH Lab. We just expanded, so we have 5 new people. So we have Dr. Bonnie Halpern-Felcher, who's the professor and director PI of the lab. We have postdocs, we have people that work in curriculum, research. We have a public health lawyer, graphic designers, as well as a adolescent medicine doctor and a adolescent psychiatrist. We also have an amazing youth action board. These are young people from across the country. It's an internship program, and they consult on our curriculums. They review it. They create content like videos and infographics as well. And they really are the eyes and ears of what's happening in the community. So delighted to have them. So before I start talking about the healthy futures, I just want to give you a quick introduction of all our curriculum in case you're not familiar with what we have. So over to the left, we have the Tobacco Prevention Toolkit. It's anything and everything about tobacco prevention for all ages, available in Spanish as well. And over to the right, we have a cannabis prevention curriculum, again, all ages, also available in Spanish. We have Safety First, which is a comprehensive drug education harm reduction based curriculum for high school students. And that we have Healthy Futures as well, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So before getting into Healthy Futures and all the different components of Healthy Futures, I want to kind of clarify that when we're talking about tobacco in Healthy Futures and throughout all our curriculums, what we're addressing is commercial tobacco. It is not traditional tobacco that we're referring to. So let's talk about our philosophy about adolescent drug use and why harm reduction is important, and why is alternative suspension correct? Why are alternative to suspension curriculums important? So I wanted to kind of open this up with you all. What brings you here, and what is it that you're seeing in your community? And if you want, you can unmute just a small group of people, or you could put it in the chat, whatever you prefer. What are you seeing in your community? Okay, so I see that there's an increase in students vaping on campus, vapes seeing an increase in vaping among younger age youth, elementary, 4th and 5th graders, students smelling like weed, alternative to suspensions, 6th to 8th grades. Would you say mostly nicotine vapes or cannabis or both? What are you seeing? Cannabis? Both. Okay. Nicotine in elementary. Okay. Nicotine in middle school. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So I'm going to talk about the oranges of drug-based suspensions and expulsion. How is it that we got here to this point? And so a lot of it is based in zero tolerance policies, and we're talking about the Anti-Drug Abuse Act that started in 1986, which was a response to the war on drugs. And definitely when I was working in school, so I worked in a school for 25 years. I worked in a high school, school-based health center. The 1994 Gun-Free School Act was something that had just started. And so that had to do more with students bringing weapons, as you can imagine, firearms. But what happened was that it became very punitive. And so it was really not something that was rehabilitative. If anything, it just was broadly applied to everything. And so what it did is that it also included minor offenses like tobacco use. So what we know is that when you do suspensions and expulsions, it doesn't rehabilitate students and it doesn't really support them as well to change their behavior. This is a great article that talks about the negative pathways of punitive responses. And so what we know is that lower educational attainment results in poorer health, and that we know that the repeated stress leads to poor mental health outcomes. So I wanted to ask you all in terms of what is it that you notice, or what's the path that you see when students are found using on campus and they're suspended? What happens to that youth? You could put it in the chat if you like. So youth was found using a vape, they're suspended. What happens after that? So no support is given because the suspension is thought to be the fix. They continue to use substances. If they're suspended, I feel that they're more disconnected from the school and want to attend school less. For sure, they return to school and typically, what does it say? Typically, the behavior persists. Yeah, so exactly. The typical pattern, and I would definitely see this work having worked in schools, is that they would get suspended, they would feel disconnected coming back, but they would also have a really hard time catching up. So they'd miss schoolwork. And so then what happens is that then their GPA drops, their grades drop. It seems hopeless. And so they drop out of school. It's very difficult for students to be able to catch up, especially if they're not given that opportunity to turn in work and things like that. And they're just falling further and further behind. And so what I would see, because I also worked in juvenile hall, I would see them in juvenile hall. So it really does it does as a service to young people to be suspending students when we can offer these alternatives and give them some support. And so then there is evidence for alternative to suspension. So these are some articles, some references that you can look at. And we do know that it's going to lead to, I mean, I saw that for years before there just a huge drop in grades, GPA, but we know that doing brief intervention, it provides that support for young people. And it really does encourage us to be more empathetic and understanding where it is that they're coming from. And so when we look at all these different exclusionary disciplinary actions, it doesn't address the root of why students are using substances. This is also a really great reference that I also encourage you to look at. This has to do with restorative practice. And a lot of schools are doing that. And that was something that I saw evolving at our school when I was working at the high school. Restorative practice being an approach to building community and addressing conflict that emphasizes repairing the harm rather than punishing wrongdoing. And so what restorative practices do is that it focuses on relationships, accountability, reflection, making amends with the goal of restoring trust, respect, and a sense of belonging. This is something that I have to say that when even when I was working at the schools, when I would have students, I would meet up with students and they would tell me that, a lot of times when they would see teachers that they seemed angry at them. So there's a lot of switching of the mindsets that needs to happen when we're talking about going from a punitive to a more restorative approach. So these are just kind of some examples of where we could shift that mindset to a more restorative and a respectful approach. So let's understand, why is it that youth use drugs? And so when we look at the continuum use, we're going to see students in our classroom when we interact with with students we're going to have students that have never used. We're going to have students that are experimental users. We're going to have students that are going to be regular users, and it could be for different substances. So it could be that maybe they've never used alcohol, but they've experimented with cannabis. So this continuum is for us to be aware of that. And also when we are doing education, it's using this particular slide, especially, and we have that in one of our curriculums, it just creates a very inclusive environment so that youth can see themselves on this continuum of use. And so they're not being excluded. So when we look at how young people make decisions, we have to look at the fact that there are real and perceived benefits to using. So when we talk about, well, what is it? Why do people use substances in general? What are some of the perceived benefits of using tobacco, for example? So thinking of your students, what would they say? Put that in the chat. What are some perceived benefits of using tobacco? Coping with stress, coping with emotions. Calms them down. So a good way to escape. Sure. Makes them feel relaxed. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So for tobacco, it could be that they like the buzz. It tastes good. They feel cool when they use it. They feel more confident, less nervous, less anxious, all the things that you described. And then with cannabis, it could be different feeling. They like the feeling. They believe it's a spiritual experience. Somebody told me that it really expands their mind, uh, break from painful connections to others in the community, and the perception is that it can address or cure mental challenges. So there are other reasons why youth use drugs. So there's the flavors, the marketing is huge, as you can imagine, with vapes. And it could be either cannabis or nicotine. It's just the marketing, the way it's so easy to hide, very accessible. There's a lot of misperceptions about substance use. They're using it again, for stress, and then we're talking also about social determinants of health. So, what are some other influences that impact a person's health and well-being? So, what's the educational environment like? What's the employment opportunities like? Does healthcare look like, or even the physical environment? What does that look like for them? There is a belief among youth that everyone is doing it, and that it's really difficult for people to say no. And so what we need to do is to teach them that there are ways for us to be able to resist those types of peer pressure. Not everyone is doing it based on the research, but there's that perception that everybody is doing it. In addition to the perceived and potential real benefits of using them, there are potential risks of saying no. And so whether or not we agree with them as adults, this risk goes into that equation that I showed you that a teen uses to make decisions. So all of our curriculum is based on a couple of themes that are here. So it's all based on how they make decisions. It's based in fact. We're empowering them to be safe, to keep them safe and make informed decisions, and really truly meeting them where they're at, not where we want them to be. So depending where you're at in your district or your school when it comes to an alternative to suspension as a way to introduce it to a school or a school district, what we recommend is showing the literature, the numbers, providing evidence of those programs, educating your schools, and then discussing cost effectiveness of suspension versus education and treatment. So that's why we have a lot of the literature available for people. That's something that comes up quite a bit and did come up quite a bit in earlier trainings that we did. So when we talk about the healthy futures, just like with all of our curriculum, it's based on partnerships when we develop it. So we're talking partners like you all who could tell us what's going on, how to improve the curriculum. We have the Youth Action Board. Everything that we provide is evidence-informed, evidence-based. It's fact-checked. We have the ability to revise, update quickly. It's theory-based, and we conduct research. With the Healthy Futures, we have two versions of it. We have one that addresses tobacco and another one that addresses cannabis. And so this is for students that have been found using these substances, but it's also for students that may be interested in trying to quit. It includes principles of motivational interviewing, stages of change, and cognitive behavioral therapy. And you do not need to be a therapist to implement Healthy Futures. All of the Healthy Futures has these four components. So we're talking about the brain, the health effects, the costs, and then we talk about wellness. Within the Healthy Futures, we have what's called the My Healthy Futures, and then we have the Our Healthy Futures. We'll be kind of doing a deep dive into what that is, but the My Healthy Future is a self-paced course, and then the Our Healthy Futures is a small group intervention. So what we're recommending is that the first time that a youth is found using is to implement the My Healthy Futures. And then for the second time, if they're found using, is to do the small group Our Healthy Futures. And then if they're found using a third time is to conduct, or this is like what other schools have done, is conduct other types of brief interventions. I know that some schools go straight to the Our Healthy Futures because that's what works the best in terms of their bell schedule or staff. So it could be that you all decide what works the best in your school settings. But we are recommending starting off with the My Healthy Futures. So as I mentioned, it is a 40 to 60-minute self-paced course that they do on their own. They could do it at home. You could provide them with the link. They can do it at home. So it has slides, it has activities, it has videos. It's very interactive, and so they get to understand and learn about the harms of e-cigarettes, tobacco, if they're using the nicotine versions, or cannabis if they're using the cannabis version. The content is, and the way it's organized is basically identical, except for the fact that one content is on nicotine and then the other one is on cannabis. So when you do the My Healthy Futures, you're going to assign the course to the student and provide them with the URL and a teacher ID so that they can do the pre and the post surveys. Again, it's a self-paced course. However, it's really important. The course is not saved, so they have to complete the course in one sitting. Otherwise, they would have to start all over. And then they get to receive a certificate of completion at the end of the course. And then the data goes into the data dashboard. And so this is what it will look like. So there's a teacher code, and I'm going to go over that in a little bit, how to get that teacher code. So that's the code that the student would get so that they can complete the Healthy Futures. And so this is an example. So they would put their name here, and then right here to the right is where they would get that teacher code. This just to kind of give you an example of what the My Healthy Futures looks like in terms of what the look looks like. So this was actually the idea of a young person in the YAB who wanted to create a kind of like a video game feel. And so these are kind of they almost look like Instagram posts, so very brief. We have what's called the Healthy Futures Handbook, and this is something that's important because they're going to be seeing this Healthy Futures Handbook throughout the course of the My Healthy Futures. And so I'll show you what that looks like when we get to the walkthrough. And then we have these knowledge check questions that don't go anywhere. We're not collecting that information. That is basically for them to be engaged with the materials. And so then once they're done, you'll be able to see that in your data dashboard that they completed the course, and then they get the certificate of completion. So these are kind of like the steps of what to do. So kind of getting the URL, the bookmark for the My Healthy Futures, the nicotine or the cannabis version, then signing up on the data dashboard, having that teacher ID. And then we actually and I'll show you where all that is, the kind of we do have a where are you at worksheet to do for a follow-up. And then we have the quitting tips. And so I'll show you all that. We have a facilitator guide, and that kind of breaks down kind of step by step on how to implement the healthy futures. So again, you're going to assign the course. Uh, there is a physical paper printed handbook that is optional, but you really don't need it because it's embedded in the course. They're going to either save or print a copy of their certificate of completion. They could take a screenshot. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And they start the course. When it's all done, then they get that certificate of completion, and then you're going to see that in the data dashboard. Okay, so following up with students. So typically, we're talking about maybe like having like a 20 or 30-minute follow-up with them within about the 3 to a week or so of completing the course. And you could check before you meet with them to see if they have completed the course. And so what you see in the middle is the Healthy Futures Handbook. So before they go off to take the course, you should let them know, remind them that you're going to be going over their um, Healthy Futures Handbook. And so they could either do the PDF or they can do a screenshot. You could print a copy of the Healthy Futures Handbook so that you could have it as a reference because it is kind of small to see. But basically, you're going to kind of go over with them, what they see as are the benefits of using, and then what are the drawbacks or the challenges if they were to not use and use. So this is something within motivational interviewing that's called decisional balance. So you're trying to develop that with them, that discrepancy. So you say you want to quit, however, you're feeling a certain kind of way about it. So that all at the very end, as they are typing in the responses, it's all going to be captured in that handbook. And so then just having a conversation with them, seeing where they're at, and providing them with resources for quitting. And so this is just kind of more magnified so that you could see it. So this is what the making your momentum looks like, which is up here, the top. So kind of like the benefits and the drawbacks, and everything is coded with icons when they're doing the course as well. So it's easy for them to do. And then here is their plan. So what is their plan after they finish with this program? So what is it that they're going to need in terms of support? And when you do the follow-up, it'll be right underneath the My Healthy Future. So you'll see where it says following up with your student. And this is what you're going to have them fill out. And this is for you to keep, or you give it back to the student. We don't need a copy of this at all. But basically what you're doing is you're trying to see like where they're at when it comes to their cannabis or their nicotine use. So have them fill it out and then have a discussion with them. Any questions about the My Healthy Futures before we get to the Our Healthy Futures? What are you all thinking of using in your schools? Are you thinking of the self-paced course or are you thinking about the group setting? Which one are you considering? Both. Okay. Self-paced? Okay. Group. Okay. So a little of everything. Okay. So with the group, we have a 2 and a 4 hour version. So the 2 hour can be taught with, so you actually could do like a one-on-one with the 2 hour, or it could be a small group setting. And then the 4 hour is pretty much identical to the 2 hour, except that there are more discussion questions. So in terms of where you want to start, so when we look at the 4 hour, it was really designed for schools that do Saturday school suspension. So providing students with something to do during that time. So that's where that 4 hour came from. But for the most part, a lot of people are going to be using the 2 hour version of the course. And so they're going to be able to break up those components. And it all, again, it's going to depend on how the staff and the bell schedule and those kinds of things, what's going to work the best in your setting. This is a facilitator guide for the Our Healthy Futures, again, step by step, and I'll show you where that's located in the website. This is the Healthy Futures Handbook. So this is, they're going to need this, so I'm going to need for you all to print that out, as well as the where you're at, which is part 1 and part 2. So kind of like a pre and a post. So then before you start, you're going to review the facilitator guide and the talking points, and then just make sure you have everything that you need. And I'll show you what the facilitator talking points chart looks like as well, because there's like instructions on some things that you need to make sure that you have. We have letters for parents available also in Spanish, letting them know that they are going to be participating in this program. It's just kind of acknowledging how they may be feeling and also offering resources for them. So just about everything that we do now is on Canva, and I think a lot of people use Canva. And so we do not share the slides. We ask that you make a copy of the slides. So the My Healthy Futures is totally different. It's on a different platform, but with the Our Healthy Futures, that's those are slides that you can make a copy. And you could, like, as I was saying, you could make a copy, you could add your own resource or local resources to them. We just ask that you do not remove or change any of our logos. This is about the data dashboard. Let me just take a look at the time. I'm going to stop sharing, and what I'm going to do is, let me just see. Actually, I'll do that when we do the walkthrough. So this is the data dashboard, and so when we when I get to the navigating, you'll see that there's a reminder everywhere for people to register, for the teachers to register, and so that you could get the teacher code, so that then you could give it to the youth, so that they can do then the pre and the post survey. So kind of like a repeat of what I was saying earlier. So I'm going to show you that. So now we're going to do the live walkthrough. Any questions so far? Or everybody doing okay? So I do encourage you all to kind of follow along. And what I'll do is that, I'll put the link in the chat so that you could kind of follow along as well. So you kind of navigating is probably one of the most important things, so that you're able to know where things are and how to access them. So what you're looking at is really the home page of the lab. And so if you go to prevention and intervention curriculums, you're going to see all these different curriculums here. And so what you're going to be looking for is Healthy Futures, which is right here. So interventions. And so here you're going to see the nicotine or the cannabis version. So we're going to look at the nicotine version. So here's just kind of like just like a quick introduction. But when you get to the course, you're going to see data dashboard. So right away, you're going to see that signing up before you get started. So let's take a look at that. We have a description. So right here is there's a brief training video that describes how to do it. So actually, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share the sound so that you all can hear it. Okay.
Thank you for using the Stanford Reach Lab Data Dashboard. In this video, we will walk you through how to get registered on the platform. The first thing you want to do is go to the link displayed on the screen. This is the same URL you will use to log back in after your students take the pre and post surveys, so feel free to bookmark it now. Once you do that, you want to press the Teacher button. To register, fill in the required information such as your name, email, and a secure password of your choosing. Once you've entered your details, click on the Submit button. Now, you will have to select a location. On this page, you'll be presented with a drop-down menu containing different options such as states, cities, and schools. Over 100,000 public schools are in our drop-down list. Please choose your school site from the drop-down list. You also have the option to select if you teach multiple periods at this location. If your school is not listed, please double check that you have selected the Let us know by clicking on the Click Here link below and fill out our Google form. We will add your school within 24 hours of you submitting your request and will email you once your school has been added. If you teach at multiple locations, you can select the option, I would like to submit an additional location. This allows you to add additional schools. After inputting all your locations and clicking Submit, your unique data dashboard will be visible to you. Here, you will see a teacher code. Every teacher has a unique code which serves as an identifier tied to your account. When a student is filling out their pre- and post-curriculum surveys, they will be inputting this teacher code so that we can identify that they are in your class. All of your students will use the same teacher code no matter the period or school they are from. Thank you for watching this video demo of the Stanford Reach Lab Data Dashboard. If you have any questions, please email us at sgerber@stanford.edu and we will respond within 24 hours. In the next video, I will be going over.
Okay. Is everybody able to see that okay? Okay. All right, great. All right, so you'll find out the brief training video right here. We're actually very soon, within probably the next week or two, we're going to be revamping this area, and we're going to have a new video, and we're even going to be having a new way to register, because we got some feedback that it was a little bit confusing. So for now, everybody would register as a teacher, even if you're not a teacher. So everybody would just register. So it's right here. And then that way you'll get the teacher code so that you could give it to your students. Um, so let's look at the healthy features. So we're going to look at the nicotine. Okay, so over here, you're going to see pre and post surveys. Here's that letter that we're talking about, how to use Canva, then additional resources. So for all of them, you're going to see the cost calculator, we have infographics, and then we have quitting tips. So the cost calculator is an activity that they would get to do, and anybody could use it. You don't have to be in Healthy Futures to do that. But we have one that's a cost calculator for vaping, and then we have one for cannabis. So those are kind of gives them a picture of how much they're consuming. And I have to say that that type of activity, it really blows their mind when they see how much they've been using or the potential of them spending up to, if they're spending $25 a week on cannabis or nicotine, and then you do the math, like, what's it going to look like in a year? And that, for youth, that's like a lot of money, over $1,000 a year spending. So it's really, it just kind of makes an impression like that. When we look at the different resources that we have here, so for example, for nicotine and cannabis, we have a bunch of resources. Also for parents, um, talk about oral products. Zyn is really popular right now, the smokeless tobacco. So we have information on that. But there's like tons of free information that you could just download. And then for cannabis, just so that you could see that we have a high school facing infographics, and then we have ones for adults and for parents. So just to give you an idea of all the different resources we have. And then the quitting tips. So either one, they're both on Canva, and we have that also available in Spanish down here. And then we also have this kind of one pager that kind of combines both, uh, also available in Spanish. And so it's just like a one pager quitting tips. So these are just some resources that are available. And again, like I said, it's open to anybody, not just for people that are doing healthy futures. Okay, so we go back to the introduction to the program. Okay, so now we're going to go to the My Healthy Futures, the self-paced course. And again, you'll see the data dashboard. So when we go to the My Healthy Futures, we have this drop down so that we could do it in other languages. So we have it in German, we have it in Spanish, and we have it in Vietnamese. I want to say Cantonese, I think. The following up with your students is right here. So this is what you're going to give when you're um, meeting up with them after they complete the program. So this is a page that asks us, all sorts of questions, especially this is on scale. Have you all seen the scale before, the motivational ruler? Is that something that you've seen before? Okay, great. Okay. So a facilitator guide is here. And so again, it's kind of give you like an introduction. What is Healthy Futures and My Healthy Futures? What are some supplies that you're going to need? So they're going to need a Chromebook or some other type of device so they can do the course. They're going to need internet as well. Uh, so here is the Healthy Futures Handbook, which actually you don't need. Um, and then there's we actually even have a video on how to fold the handbook. Registering, again, the data dashboard, completing the course, the quitting tips, where are you at? So I'm going to talk about the where you at now, because that is something you're also going to be doing with the Our Healthy Futures. So for this is a scale from 1 to 10. Where do you think most of your students may be after completing this course? On a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 means that they're not ready, 10 means that they're very ready. How ready are you to change your nicotine use? What do you think they might say? We could just like kind of make a guess. Or what's been your experience if you've used this type of tool in the past? Like, what do you typically say? We could, right? We could hope that they're going to go for an 8 or a 9. Um, a lot of times, what I've seen is more along here, 4 or 5, right? Like a 4 or 5. And we don't do a pre with the My Healthy Futures, but a lot of times they're right here. They're 1, 2. Just not ready. So what we're trying to do with them at that point is really to kind of give them information and try to hopefully move them from a 2 to a 3. So what you could do with them when you're doing this, sorry, let me see where I am right now. Okay, so here we are. So this is kind of like an example. So on a scale from 1 to 10, have them pick a number. So let's pretend that they picked a 6. And then you follow up with a question using a lower number. So tell me, you chose a 6 and not a 4. Um, why did you choose a 6 and not a 4? And so then really having them like elaborate and listen to what they have to say. So it could be that they might say something like, I'm realizing that using drugs causes more problems now. Okay. And then you follow up with a higher number. How come you're at a 6 instead of an 8? And they may say, I'm not ready to stop. And then a final question, what would help you move from a low to a higher number? So, so from a 6 to an 8, or whatever number you want to kind of move them up. And just hear this might be the hardest question for them. Sometimes they may be stuck, and it's okay. There's still a lot of times it's like you're planting a seed. They may not have an answer right away. That's kind of like, what we're doing when we do this. And always thanking them for sharing. Always just being thankful that they did that. And so when you do excuse me, so when you do the handout, what you're going to do with them is, they're going to fill it out. They're going to circle where they're at with their change. So this is stages of change. So they might be here, or they might be considering cutting back. And then these are just some kind of goal questions. What are some assistants that they have, and who are the support people? Like really, is it your mom? Is it your sibling? Like, who is going to be able to support you? Is it a teacher? So, so let's look at the course. So we're going to look at the one in English, and then give me a second. I just want to make sure that I'm sharing my sound. Okay, I am. Okay. Don't want you to see that. I'm a very busy person, as you can tell. Let's see. Share sound. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to look at the course. So the course has voiceovers, so they can elect to ignore it, which is fine, or they can elect to listen to it.
Welcome to My Healthy Futures. We're glad you're here. The nicotine version of My Healthy Futures you are doing today is designed to help you quit or cut back on your nicotine use and/or make decisions to help keep you healthy. Before getting started, please complete the pre-survey, which can be accessed by clicking the red button on the screen.
So they have to have that teacher code, right? So that they can do the pre-survey. So they're going to do it right in here. Okay. So right now I'm just trying to advance it. Okay, so now we're going to start the game.
Throughout this course, there are several different items that will earn you points. You will earn a sword with each slide you progress through, a diamond with each video completed, and a star for completing the course.
So all this,
By clicking the loot, you will learn about the 3 main topics covered in this curriculum.
So again, like I said, they can elect to kind of like avoid all the voiceover, or they could kind of continue. So here we're going to talk about the goals of the course.
Please take a moment to do so now.
So these are not read, they have to read that. So discuss the realities of nicotine use, develop your own individualized plan for setting goals related to nicotine use, and access resources to help you manage your relationship with nicotine.
Okay, let's begin by talking about what it means to be addicted to substances such as nicotine. As I am sure you know, some people have never used nicotine, some have used it a few times, and some are dependent. In other words, everyone falls somewhere on what is called the continuum of use. Which point on the continuum best describes you? Please be honest with your answers. This is the best way for us to guide you.
So this is one of those interactive features of the My Healthy Futures that I was talking about that does not save anything. So what do you think one of your students may say in terms of where they're at with their nicotine use? What do you think how are they going to respond? So when they click on, for example, never use, it's going to kind of give them a little explanation of what that means. But where do you think your students are going to fall, perhaps? Okay. Yeah, so let's look at, so recreational has engaged, excuse me, with the substance in a social setting for enjoyment or enhanced experience. Experimental. Okay, so it could be that they might say this, or they might say experimental involve trying a substance a couple of times out of curiosity, peer pressure. So next slide. Okay.
The first section of this course will cover the effects of nicotine on the brain. Before diving in, please write your answers to the questions on the screen in the corresponding text boxes below. Once you have finished, be sure to click outside of the box to continue.
Okay, so this is the Healthy Futures Handbook, and they're going to see this over and over again. So right now we're going to see it for the brain. We're only going to do just a kind of just, like a synopsis of the My Healthy Futures. We're not going to go throughout the whole course today. So this is kind of like the before they take learn about the components of the brain. So they are going to be typing in this here because what happens is that this is the embedded handbook, and so at the very end we're going to see it. You're going to see it because they're going to be doing either a PDF or they're going to do a screenshot, whatever is the easiest for them. So we're going to answer this question together. So how does vaping usually make your brain feel? Think about how vaping affects your mood, focus, sleep, emotions. What do you think they're going to say? Put it in the chat and I'll be happy to type it up. What do you think they're going to say to that? How does vaping usually make your brain feel? Hey, they might say relaxed. They might say calm. Great. Makes me feel good. Good. Okay. What do you think are some downsides to vaping for your brain? So what do you think they might say to that? Hard to focus on school. It's affecting my sleep. Great. And they could also say there are no downsides. They may think that it's not a big deal. So everything that I just typed is going to be embedded, and then at the very end, when I'm done with the course, it's going to print out. So what we want them to do, if they make typos, it's not a big deal. But what we don't want is this kind of thing where they're just putting in junk because that's what's going to show up. So let them know that there's going to be parts in the course that they're going to be typing in information and that they really need to answer the questions and not put in junk, basically. So that's just kind of to show you what it looks like. So they're going to be doing this multiple times again, like I said, for each component, and there's a pre and a post for all four. So I'll just show you a couple more features, and then I'm going to go to the next course, the Our Healthy Futures.
Great work so far. Let's now move on to talking about your brain in greater detail. Your brain is awesome and full of potential. Click the number 1 to start revealing some of the amazing things your brain does for you.
So they're going to be clicking on these, and again, these are things that they're going to be reading to themselves. It helps you figure out what activities you enjoy, allows you to learn new things, helps you plan for the future, helps you make thoughtful choices, lets you put yourself in someone else's shoes, and helps you become the person you want to be. So we're really talking about the brain in a very positive healthy manner. Because it's true that at this point in their lives, their brain is full of potential to do a lot of great things. So we really want to protect their brain. So I'm going to go to the Our Healthy Futures now, but this is just to kind of give you like a sampling. Within the course, we have videos as well, as I was mentioning, and there's more of these kind of interactive features within the course. So, okay, so let's go and do the Our Healthy Futures. So let's do that one. So there's more information here about the Our Healthy Futures. So we have English and Spanish, and here's the 2, and here's the 4. So if we look at the 2 hours, so we already saw where the cost calculator is located, as well as the infographics. Here is the printout of the handbook. So it's 2 pages. So here are the components. So kind of like what you just saw, so the different icons. So they're going to be filling this out based on the icons, and I'll show you what that's going to look like when we look at the course. The facilitator guide, the talking points. So this is very extensive. Again, an introduction. Who is the person that's going to be facilitating the course? So wanting somebody that is going to be empathetic and is going to be non-judgmental, not preachy, not sarcastic. So making sure that whoever that person is going to be doing the course is going to be very youth-friendly, okay? And so these are some things to consider. We didn't really talk too much about how to implement the course in terms of like the size, or like some examples of when is it that I could implement this type of program. And maybe you already have some ideas, but it could be like during advisory or lunchtime or after school. So if I were back in my old school, I would be doing it at lunchtime, and I would be breaking it up into chunks. So we have 4 components. I would try to do all the 4 components weekly, maybe for about 30, 40 minutes, depending on the bell schedule and things like that. So it all, it's all going to vary in terms of like, what is it that you're going to be able to offer? So having a laptop with the projectors is helpful. Teddy bear to do community agreements. And again, they're going to need a Chromebook so they can do the pre and the post. And so again, registering. And so these are just some infographics for you all on the different principles within the Healthy Futures. But here are the talking points. These are actually in the slides, and I'll show you what that looks like. But basically, we're already kind of setting the stage for Our Healthy Futures. So before you start, creating a welcoming space that feels safe, confidential, non-judgmental, wanting to have a conversation with the youth, not a confrontation, really wanting to establish rapport with them. And so the talking, welcome, so glad you're here, that kind of thing. We have the pre, and then we do greetings and check-in. And so as you can see, where we have notes, so we kind of giving you some guidance on how to talk and have this building rapport with the youth. Also in terms of supplies, so having a teddy bear ready. If you've done group work, I'm sure you've done things like this where, you have a teddy bear where people then take, youth take turns. So they're learning how to communicate and not talk over each other. So anyway, so there's a lot of slides in the Our Healthy Future. So I just wanted to give you a quick glance of what that looks like. But if we're going to look at the course in a second, so let me go back to the worksheets. So here's part 1. So this is the pre, and they're going to be doing that within the course, and you'll see what that looks like because it'll be laid out for you. But basically, how often are they using, the frequency, and then the motivational ruler for the very first time. And then when we look at the worksheet part 2, it's exactly the same as the My Healthy Futures that you just saw, the follow-up. It's the same kind of questions. Okay. And so then we're going to look at the course. So we go to Canva. And we edit. So what you're going to do is that you're going to make a copy the slides. It's not going to look like this because I'm already logged in, but when you get to the website, what you're going to do is that you're going to make a copy. Otherwise, what happens is that we get them requests for us to share the slides. So we don't share the slides as I was mentioning. All you have to do is make the copies. So when you look at this, you look at the notes. And so the notes right here is just like what you just saw with the facilitator guide. So the way some schools are using the facilitator guides is that they either have like an additional laptop so they can see all their talking points, because you're showing them the slides and you're not going to be able to see your talking points. So either having it on a second projector or you print it out. You can print out the talking points. So we're going to do one component. So they're going to do the pre and the post. And then you're going to do greetings and check in with them. So basically, how everybody's doing, just kind of your usual typical group work with youth. So acknowledging them, acknowledging how they're feeling. And then we do community agreements. So kind of really setting the stage, the foundation for respect. So with using the teddy bear, speak with respect, listen with respect, speak from the heart, respect the talking piece. So taking turns, really listening, honor privacy and confidentiality, remaining in the circle. So we do talk about the limits of confidentiality. That's all here about hurting yourself, those kinds of things. So wanting them to understand what is confidential and what is not confidential within this space. And then we get to talk about the programs. We get to talk about the program goals. These are the same goals that you saw in the My Healthy Futures. And so here is your first cue. So you're going to pass out the where are you at, number one. So pass it all out, have them fill it out, and then you're going to review it together after you're done. So you could put it in a folder and hold it for the next time that you see them. And I would also do the same with that folder. I would put that in also the Healthy Futures Handbook and give it to them at the end so that they don't, misplace them. Then we talk about the topics, the parts of the brain, their functions, what is nicotine, how it affects the developing brain, and what are the harms. And so everything that you need is here. All the instructions are here, so we don't leave you behind. So we talk about what is it you like about vaping, using e-cigs, what is it that you don't like about vaping and using e-cigs. And we talk about what do you think it means to be addicted. And so all of this is right here for you. So I'm kind of breezing through it in this training. But here is where you're going to pass out the handbooks. So this is your second cue. So what they're going to do is that they're going to answer the questions that pertain to these icons, so the circle and the square. And so then have them fill it out, have them, after they're filled out, then they could have like a discussion with them again, as far as like, what they said. And so we kind of continue. So then we talk about the brain. So now we're going to really talk about the brain in greater detail. So we're going to ask them, what is it that you know about nicotine? Again, we even let you know, who wants to start? Waiting for responses from the group. Talk about the effects of nicotine. So all your talking points are to the left. We have references as well. We talk about the developing brain, how it develops. We have a video about drugs in the brain. It's brand new that we developed not too long ago. We talk about the reward pathway, so it looks very similar to what you saw in the other video, in the other course, excuse me. Talk about dopamine. So, then we talk about the connection between nicotine and the developing brain. And we have another video. Talk about the cycle of addiction. Discuss drug dependency. What is tolerance? Asking them, what is that? What have you heard? They might be even experiencing that. And the same with withdrawal, asking them what that means. What have they heard about that? Talk about tobacco use disorder, which is a true disorder, just like cannabis use disorder. And then we're done. We're done with the brain. And so now we go back to the handbook And now we're going to fill the post. So the post is going to be the triangle and the star icon. They fill it out, have a discussion, and we're done. We could collect the Healthy Futures Handbook for the next time. And so then we're ready to go to the next one when you see them again next week. If you're going to be doing components 1 and 2 in one sitting because you have a block period or however it is that you're doing it. I know a school was doing it they were doing the Our Healthy Futures. It was like 25 students that were found using substances, and they did it before school started. And so they did it for 1 hour. So they did components 1 and 2 in 1 hour, and then they did 3 and 4 in another hour, and then they were done. And then they start the whole process with the next group of people. They were dealing with a real severe vaping problem at their school. But that was what worked for them. Anyway, all that to say is that what you could do, as you know, probably with Canva, you could just hide the slide. And so when you hide it, it just goes straight into the next topic. Okay, so I'll just unhide it. So now you could see it again. And so then at the very end, so I'm just going to go to the end of the course. So this is all the different components. So when we get to the end, we talk about resources. This is a part of the Our Healthy Futures where everybody can participate in kind of like a group effort. Everybody can put down like what they put down for their benefits in terms of the star, of the different icons. You can kind of have a group discussion. We have this down as an optional project, but this is something that you could do if you'd like. We talk about the plan. We have the resources. These have all been updated um, for California. Then here is where they're going to be doing the part 2, so the post, the where you add part 2, so kind of like our post. Here, they're going to do the post survey and then just congratulating them. And then they're going to be able to get the certificate when they complete the survey. And so, any questions about the Our Healthy Futures? You all with me? All right, good. All right, okay, wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad. Really, honestly, doing that, that was like one of the best, talk about instant feedback that somebody gave me. This was, I really need to do this with you so that I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, thank you for saying that because it really is true. Kind of like going along really helps. So on that note, um, we're at the point of completing the post-training survey. If you would kindly fill that out, and I'll put my email again in the chat. Happy to assist if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to help you with that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you definitely do need a little bit of time just to kind of play around and kind of see how things are kind of set up. But we just like I mean, we're so grateful to have two graphic designers, web designers. I mean, they have made our website so much smoother than what it was like 7 years ago when I first started. So everything is like laid out identical so that it's super easy. So even when you look at the cannabis and the nicotine, it almost looks exactly the same. The only difference really, again, is the content, but it's laid out very clearly so it's easy to use. Great. Thank you. Let us know if you need any resources or any help. Happy to, again, to assist with any of that. And then we have social media if you want to follow us. The YAB, they have their own. So if you work with young people, that's it's all prevention resources and things that they like to post. And we have a bunch of other resources on our Instagram. And yeah, so I've multiple ways of reaching you, 2 email addresses. So, well, thank you all.